Baruchot habaot, ladies. Thank you so much for coming out on this glorious evening to hear Divrei Torah. And I want to also thank the ladies who log on to Torah Anytime and also to olsara.com. Thank you so much for tuning in every week. You're amazing. Hashem yishmor otchem v'yivarech otchem v'yimale kol mishalot libchem litova ulivracha. Amen. Okay. This class is dedicated first and foremost to the refuah shelema of Esther Bat Rachel, who's right now in critical condition in ICU. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should grant her bimhera, a refuah shlema. We should sing nisim. And also,
Aviva Tal.
For what is this for?
This is a geometry as well. She's cancer.
Also refuah shlema. Refuah shlema for the 3-year-old tinoket. The name?
Aviva Tal.
Aviva Tal Bat Atara Gitzel. Shishav refuah shlema bimhera.
And everybody who is
and all whoever's on our lists, and Kadosh Baruch Hu should grant refuah shlema to all of Am Yisrael who need it. Be'ezrat Hashem. Okay, ladies, Parashat Yitro this week. Parashat Yitro begins with the story of Moshe Rabbeinu's father-in-law Yitro, who heard about the miracles that Hashem performed for Am Yisrael, and that's what prompted him to join our holy nation. He wanted to become part of Am Yisrael Yitro. And Rashi HaKadosh Alav HaShalom tells us that there were 2 events in particular that inspired Yitro to join Am Yisrael. What were the 2 events that inspired him? Well, first of all, the miracle of the splitting of the sea, and the fact that Bnei Israel defeated Amalek when Amalek attacked them. That was also a big miracle. Now, when you look into the Torah HaKadosha, you wonder where these 2 events are mentioned with regards to Yitro's arrival upon the scene, because the pasuk only says, Vayishma Yitro et kol asher asa Hashem Elokim leMoshe uleYisrael amo. And Yitro heard all that Hashem did for Moshe Rabbeinu and for his holy nation Am Yisrael. What else does it say? Ki hotzi Hashem et Yisrael miMitzrayim. He heard that Hashem took Bnei Yisrael out of Egypt. Where does it say in this pasuk that he heard about the splitting of the sea? Where does it say that he heard about the war against Amalek? Doesn't say. Yeah. So how does Rashi know that Yitro heard all this news? So Chachamim explained that the answer is actually in the different names of Hashem that were used in this pasuk. What did the pasuk say? Vayishma Yitro et kol asher asa Hashem Elokim. It's 2 different names of Hashem. Hashem, Elokim. The 2 names, the answers in these 2 names that were used in the first pasuk of the parasha. The Torah here says that Yitro heard everything that Elokim did for Am Yisrael, and also that Hashem, the name Havaya, took Bnei Israel out of Egypt. So in this one pasuk, the 2 names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu appear. The name Elokim is associated, it's connected with Hashem's mighty hand over the laws of nature, over the Teva. This name signifies his power and his authority, which is hidden behind the veil of the natural world. Behind everything in the creation is the signature of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even though we don't see it. Because everything in this world and the nature of it was created and it was designed by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There is a spiritual DNA of Hashem that's embedded in the creation itself. And you could see this idea, by the way, in the name Elohim. You see it in this name because Elohim is a combination of two words. It's a combination of the words me, which means who, and the word ele. This is a kofi over here because really it's supposed to be a hey, but we're not supposed to write the name of Hashem. So it's Aleph Lamed Hey, ele, me and ele. Ele means these. Okay? So the Torah is telling us over here, and it's something that Yeshaya HaNavi says, alav shalom. He says, Sa'u marom enechem, lift up your eyes on high, ure'u mi bara ele. Lift your eyes up onto the heavens and see who created these. Ele. Mi bara ele. Who created these? Yeshaya HaNavi is telling us, can anybody observe the entire universe and not think that there's a creator? So the word me, which means who, signifies like uncertainty, doubt, kind of like a mystery, like who did it? Who created this world? Who knows? Who is it that designed everything that we see? Me. And unfortunately, if we stay at the level of me, meaning who, a person could actually think that everything that happens in this world happens just stam like this, haphazardly, randomly, without a supreme being that's running it. Because we're always asking, oh, me, who? We know who. But if you stay at the level of who all the time, you're asking who, you'll never get to the truth. But the word ele, which means these, all these things in this world, they are a testimony to the certainty that Hashem created the world, and they're meant to provide you with clarity. Sheyesh borei la'olam. Through these, through ele, meaning these creations, you're able to point to God and realize that He's the one who's orchestrating and controlling all these ele events in the world. So the name Elohim really refers to all those times when you might look at a situation in life and you wonder, me, who's doing all of this? Who's the one in charge over here? Is this world and my life simply operating stam, randomly? Is my life just by chance? Or is this hashgacha pratit? And then you say, but all these things in my life, hadevarim ha'ele, these things, they are meant to teach me and show me that this entire world and every part of my life is actually managed by Hashem. That's the basic lesson of the name Elohim. But the name Havaya, Yud, a Hey, a Vav, and another Hey, that's a different name. That's completely different. This name that we say all the time, we see this name quite often, that name refers to the very clear manifestations of Hashem's power in the world. Those are the rare times in history when Hashem's existence and His glory were very clear and unquestionably obvious. A good example of this would be like when the Jews witnessed the splitting of the sea. That was very clear, right? That Hashem is there. So the Torah is telling us right from the start of this parasha that Yitro heard two things. First, what Elohim did for Am Yisrael, and secondly, what Havaya did for Am Yisrael. The name Elohim refers to the miracles that Hashem did, that when you look at them, they didn't seem like big miracles. The miracles that looked like natural occurrences. An example of that is the war of Amalek. A person could think, when you're fighting, when you're a soldier, there's no supernatural involvement on Hashem's part. A soldier could win a war by himself. You could think that. It's a natural thing. You could say, oh, Hashem simply helped Am Yisrael a little bit, defeat Amalek, but through natural ways. Through the sword, right? Through a gun, through a tank. But the second part of the pasuk tells us what Havaya did. And that refers to the supernatural event of Kriyat Yamsuf. Nobody could deny that the splitting of the sea was obviously a very clear manifestation of God's unlimited control and power over the world. Kriyat Yamsuf was such a remarkable and extraordinary event that it couldn't be interpreted any other way than the majesty of the Ribono Shel Olam, who controls the universe. So ladies, Yitro reached the level where he was able to recognize both names. Both names of Hashem.
Yitro is the father-in-law.
The father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu. He was able to recognize the name of Hashem, Havaya, and the name Elokim. What does that mean? He understood that Hashem is behind the natural events that look to us as though things are just happening naturally and randomly. And Hashem is also creating the supernatural events. And those supernatural miracles are supposed to show us the miracles behind the natural events. What does that mean? The Ramban, alav shalom, writes that Hashem performed all these very interesting and rare and supernatural miracles for Am Yisrael in order to reveal to us that He's also behind everything else that happens in the world. That means when He split the sea, Hashem was also trying to tell us, just like I'm the God who split the sea, and that to you is a big miracle, Hashem says, if a flower grows from the Adama, that's also a miracle. Even though for you it's a natural thing for things to grow, but it's a miracle. The birth of a child is a miracle. The rain that falls from up above is a miracle. The sun that shines through your window every morning, it's a miracle. Nature is a miracle that is just as big and just as grand as the splitting of the sea. And that's what Hashem was trying to teach us when He split the sea. By showing us His power over nature through these miracles, Hashem was teaching us that nature isn't as random as we think. He was teaching us that everything that happens in this world is a direct cause of His Ratzon. That's what we learn from the first pasuk of this parasha. The pasuk is telling us that Yitro understood the miraculous nature of Am Yisrael's victory over Amalek. And he understood that, he understood why that's a miracle, because he also heard about the miracle of the splitting of the sea. He realized that even the events that seem very natural, they are the actions of Hashem. And he understood it because of the great miracle of the splitting of the sea. That means that Yitro used his chokhmah to realize that you could find Hashem in every occurrence of life, in every natural event that seems very ordinary and very random. Yitro realized that we need to believe that Hashem is controlling everything that happens in this world, even when His presence cannot easily be seen. Which brings me to the next point. The Gemara of Baba Batra tells us something fascinating. It tells us like this: Bat techila siman yafe lebanim, which means usually if the first child that's born to you is a girl, bat techila, that's a good sign that boys are definitely going to be born after that. That's generally speaking. Because I know I'm going to get complaints now from all the viewers and you guys. What happened to all those times I had 8 boys in a row, 7 girls in a row? But the point is that boys will be coming, or girls will be coming, right? But if you have a girl first, for sure you're going to have a boy at some point. However, there is a commentator, the Shav Shematata, and he tells us something amazing. It's a lesson to us all. Shematata is the Shav Shematata. He says it's a lesson to us all, he says, especially to the ladies. He writes that the woman's role in Jewish life is to serve a more private function. What does that mean? It means all the things that would take place in a private setting is your role, is your job, like running a household. That's inside, not outside. Taking care of the children, indoors, private. Cooking, cleaning. These are things that you take place your house. So all these things are taking place inside your house. The woman has a more private role. Privacy, tsanua. That's why the woman is referred to as the akeret habayit, because the ikar of her work and her role is the bayit. The bayit is private. But the men, on the other hand, traditionally, they're meant to spend more time out of the house. That's the way it always was. The woman was in the house and the men were where? Outside of the house. So Chachamim say, because the woman's role is a private role, the woman represents Yirat Shamayim, which is the internal feeling that's private, that's internal, right? The internal feeling of fearing Hashem that we should all feel at times. So what do we learn from this, ladies? Chachamim say, well, some people behave in a very righteous, which means like a tzaddik. They behave like a tzaddik. They behave in an upright manner in public, on the outside, or in the presence of their friends, because they want to earn their approval and their respect. But inside, in the privacy of the house, they fail to live up to some of those standards. In private, they live in the opposite manner that they display in public. There are people who are very generous with their money, with their time. They rush to help people in need any hour of the night, any hour of the day. If their friends need them, they're there. But in their own homes, inside, in the privacy of their own domain, they could be rude, disrespectful, and insensitive to their partners, to their spouses, to their children. These are the people who they give the impression that they're tzaddikim. But unfortunately, they don't have Yirat Shamayim. So the Chachamim are teaching us that a person who genuinely senses that Hashem is watching him at all times, a person who realizes and believes that Hashem is the one managing this entire world and his own life, that person will act in a proper, dignified, and upright manner, not only in public, but also in private. In the shul, in his office, at home, on vacation. Some people take a vacation from being a tzaddik when they go to Florida. Like sometimes, po ani lo tzaddik, here I'm not a tzaddik. Oh, only here you're not a tzaddik? Okay. Anyway, so the Gemara is teaching us that a strong awareness that you're being watched by Hashem, that's a prerequisite to Torah, which means before anything else, You need to embed inside yourself the feeling that Hashem is always watching you. That's what it means, the pasuk. But tchila, before anything else, comes the bat, meaning the woman, which means the mindset of Yirat Shamayim. That's before anything else. Bat tchila. Once this mindset is in place, where you have this internal awareness that Hashem is with you, around you, and watching you, then you will be eligible for banim. What does banim mean? That you'll be able to move to the next step, and you'll be able to pursue greatness in Torah and in mitzvot, because that's the role of the man. That's the banim part. But if you don't have Yirat Shamayim, what good is your Torah learning or your mitzvot? You have no Yirat Shamayim. As a matter of fact, all the way at the very beginning of the Shulchan Aruch, the Rama, alav shalom, quotes the pasuk in Sefer Tehillim, where David HaMelech writes, alav shalom, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. I have placed God before me at all times. Says the Rama, ze klal gadol b'Torah. This is a great principle of the Torah. That means right at the beginning of the most important halachic code called the Shulchan Aruch, we are told that before anything else, we need to put Hashem before us, see Him always, and be mindful of Hashem's presence at all times. If we don't truly believe and sense that Hashem is always watching us, then how are you going to be able to fulfill the halachot properly? That's why the Rama says, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. You want to follow the laws of the Shulchan Aruch, the halachot, the right way? You have to have Yirat Shamayim. How are you going to follow the halachot if you don't have Yirat Shamayim? Meaning, you might be able to impress your friends by giving the appearance that you're religious in public, but it doesn't mean anything if you are violating the Torah in private. That's why in this week's parasha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu instructs Moshe Rabbeinu to speak to the women before he speaks to the men. In other words, before you can speak of the traditional male role, which is the study of Torah, and also tefillah, the worship of tefillah, you have to first establish the female role. What's the female role? We said. What's the female role? It's what takes place in private. It's that personal experience of Yirat Shamayim. So as Moshe Rabbeinu was preparing Am Yisrael to receive the Torah, he was teaching us the importance and the requirement of Torah. You want the Torah? You have to have Yirat Shamayim first. Now we all know the famous pasuk in Sefer Tehillim. Reshit Chochma Yirat Hashem. Fear of God, right, has to come before Chochma. It's not enough to be a Talmid Chacham first. You have to be a Yareh Shamayim. A lot of girls, they call me up about Shidduchim and things like that, and they want to know, should they go on with the date? And I say, well, what do you like about the guy? And sometimes they say, well, he's such a Talmid Chacham. I said, never mind that. Is he a Yareh Shamayim? Because anybody could be a Talmid Chacham, but not everybody could be a Tzaddik and a Yareh Shamayim. So he could learn well, but does he treat you well? Does he behave well? You have to be a Yareh Shamayim first, and then you could pursue the Chokhmah. Because a person who lacks Yirat Shamayim, he doesn't have Yirat Shamayim, but he has Torah knowledge, right? You know what that's like? It's like taking a set of Gemariot and putting it on a donkey. That's very impressive, right? That kind of knowledge is impressive. But overall, the accomplishment is meaningless Because Torah knowledge is only significant when it's preceded by Yirat Shamayim, by a very keen awareness that we are accountable to Hashem, that there's somebody out there taking hashbonot. So the Chachamim are telling us, once we've established this mindset of Yirat Shamayim, that's when you could proceed to Chokhmah and even strive for spiritual excellence. And that's something Moshe Rabbeinu tells Am Yisrael when he was preparing them for Matan Torah. He told them, look, if you accept HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mitzvot, he says to them, V'yitem li sgula mikol ha'amim. You will be a treasure beyond all the other nations in the eyes of Hashem. You're going to be like a treasure to Him. What does that mean? Rashi says, Bnei Israel are going to be Hashem's treasure. Okay, we already know that. We just said that, right? But what does that mean? And Rashi quotes a pasuk from Sefer Yeshaya where the Navi tells us, Yirat Hashem hi otzaro. You want to know what Hashem considers to be a treasure? It's Yirat Shamayim. Yirat Hashem hi otzaro, and otzar is a treasure. You want to know the treasure of Hashem? It's Yirat Shamayim. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us, a person, you can own many valuable items, but those items won't help if you don't have a safe treasure chest that you could store those valuable items in. You understand? Yirat Shamayim is the treasure chest. It's the vessel that we need in order to store all the positive qualities that we have to develop. Think about it. Think about it this way. If you would leave your jewelry, your money, and all your valuables outside in the public street, aren't they going to get stolen? Yes or no?
Of course.
So your Torah knowledge and your ma'asim tovim, they have very little value if they're not going to be stored in the treasure chest of Yirat Shamayim. There was a man who went to a big rabbi. There was a big rabbi called Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, alav shalom. So the guy tells the rabbi, and you have to think, what a chutzpah, that the guy actually told us to the rabbi. I guess he felt close enough, and he says, Rabbi, I think I'm going to call my boss and tell him that I'm sick, so that I shouldn't have to go to work on Purim morning, and then I'll be able to stay home. Because my boss only gives me a certain amount of sick days that I'm allowed to take off, where I get paid for the sick days. So if I tell him that I'm sick on Purim, I could celebrate the holiday with my family, and I'll also get paid for it. As a yofi, double bonus. Chutzpah, right? Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky tells this guy, B'shum panim ve'ofen, no. Meaning, this is absolutely wrong and unacceptable. He says, listen what he tells him. He says to him, instead of telling your boss a lie, you should pack a sandwich for yourself and eat it during your lunch break on Purim, and you should consider that your Seudat Purim, because the idea that you want to lie so that you could celebrate Purim shows that you have very little Yirat Shamayim. Imagine that. Think about it. Meaning, you're so makpid to give mishloach manot and to hear the Megillah, but then at the same time, you're dishonest with your boss and you just stole from him the money for the day of work that you claimed that you got sick. Doesn't make sense. I'll tell you another story, since that one was so exciting. There was a man who, they called him, they said, we need you to be the 10th man for a minyan. We need you. But he knew if he's going to join the minyan, if he's going to go to the minyan, he's going to be late for an appointment. So he didn't know what to do. So right away they called, at that time, they right away got in touch with the Chazon Ish, alav shalom, he was a big tzaddik, and the Chazon Ish says, no, you have to go to the appointment. Could you believe it? You know what the Chazon Ish told the man about why it was more important to go to the appointment than to daven with the minyan? He told him like this. He said, if a person has Yirat Shamayim, he's going to be just as careful about keeping his word as he is about davening with the minyan. You hear this? In other words, keeping your word, if you told someone I'm going to be there at 10 o'clock, I'll meet you, keeping your word is part of having Yirat Shamayim. And that's just as important as davening with the minyan, if not more important. Yirat Hashem hi otzaro. The greatest treasure we can have is our Yirat Shamayim. And the Torah Kedosha offers us many priceless treasures. Which brings me to the next point that I wanted to discuss with you. Ladies, as we just learned, Yirat Shamayim is the prerequisite for Torah knowledge. Before Torah, there's got to be Yirah. But I have to say at the same time, for some people out there who are not familiar with the beauty of the Torah, the opposite is also true. Meaning, sometimes the learning of the Torah and discovering a world beyond this world can also lead a person to have Yirat Shamayim. Right? Because what happens when the person doesn't know Torah? So by learning the Torah, it creates in that person more Yirat Shamayim. That's why it's so important for the women to encourage their husbands and their children to embrace the Torah, to learn the Torah, and to be affiliated Torah Jews. That means close to the Torah. Because the learning of Torah is supposed to create in you this natural feeling of love for Hashem and also Yirah, also fear. That's something we learned from this week's Parasha. Moshe Rabbeinu, he went up to the Shamayim in order to receive the Torah and bring it back down to the earth to Am Yisrael. And Chachamim in the Midrash tell us about this incredible event that happened when Moshe went up to the Shamayim to get the Torah. This was an incredible thing that happened. How many of you know of anybody who went up to the Shamayim recently for anything and came back down? Anyway, the Midrash tells us like this. Moshe Rabbeinu goes up and Hashem showed Moshe Rabbeinu a scene from the distant future. Moshe saw the future. What did Moshe see? He saw a great rabbi teaching a shiur Torah to his students. The chidushim of this rabbi were so deep, what he was teaching, that even Moshe Rabbeinu could not understand the shiur Torah. That's how deep it was. Can you imagine? Well, I'm sure you all want to know. What do you want to know? Exactly, very good. Who was this rabbi that Moshe Rabbeinu saw in this vision? Chachamim tell us, the Midrash tells us, it was none other than Rabbi Akiva, alav shalom, one of the greatest and most influential of Tanaim who lived during the period of the Mishnah. Now, when Moshe Rabbeinu realized that he could not understand Rabbi Akiva's shiur, he was so embarrassed, he told Hashem, Hashem, I am not worthy to receive the Torah or to bring it to Am Yisrael. This rabbi over here, Rabbi Akiva, he's so great. He's the one who should receive the Torah and then transmit it to Am Yisrael, not me. Look at me, I don't even know a word that he said over here. I couldn't understand anything. And Hashem told Moshe, no, Moshe, you are the one that I chose for this exalted role. You're going to be the one to receive the Torah here in Shamayim, and you're going to be the one who transmits it to Am Yisrael down below. End of story. But I want to know, what was this vision that Moshe Rabbeinu saw in Shamayim all about. I mean, it's very nice that at the end of the day, he ended up still giving the Torah to Am Yisrael. But I want to know, what lesson are we supposed to learn from this extraordinary story? Ladies, Rabbi Akiva was without a doubt one of the most heroic and important figures in Jewish history. He was a man of unparalleled genius. He was a genius to the point where, just like we learned, even Moshe Rabbeinu could not understand his Shiur Torah. Not only that, but the Gemara tells us that Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students, which is far more than any other Torah educator at any point in Jewish history. And tragically, we know, all those thousands of Talmidim died in a deadly plague, and shortly after their death, Rabbi Akiva, remarkably, he did not have Yeush, he did not despair. Even after suffering such a devastating loss, he had tremendous emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he found 5 Talmidim, and he started the yeshiva all over again. From these 5 Talmidim, he taught these men everything he knew, and those Talmidim became the pillars of our Torah tradition. You know who those 5 Talmidim were? I'm glad you asked. Rabbi Yehuda bar Ilai, alav shalom. Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes, alav shalom. Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua, alav shalom. Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta, alav shalom. And Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, alav shalom. Could you imagine that these were the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva? Can you imagine who Rabbi Akiva was if Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Meir were his students? But even more fascinating than Rabbi Akiva's role as a leading Torah giant is the humble beginnings that he came from. Who was he? Well, I want to remind you that Rabbi Akiva did not know anything about Torah. He was ignorant for many years. He never had a Torah education. He was a simple shepherd, tending the flocks for a wealthy man named Kalba Savua. But guess what? Not only was Rabbi Akiva ignorant in Torah, he actually hated Talmidei Chachamim. The Gemara tells us that every time a rabbi passed by, he wished he could bite them. Not a regular bite, like the bite of an ox. Anyone here ever been bitten by an ox? Don't try it. But that was the extent of the hatred that he felt towards Talmidei Chachamim. Hated them. So I have a question. I have a lot of questions, as you could see. How is it possible for a person who feels so much hatred for Torah to become one of the greatest Talmidei Chachamim of all time? How is that possible? The Yirah Kadosh alav shalom reveals to us that there's no question that Rabbi Akiva possessed a very holy and special neshama. That holiness is what allowed Rabbi Akiva to attain such greatness in Torah and in tzidkut. Because you cannot reach such levels of ruchaniyut if you don't have a special neshama. You just can't. So the Ari says, there's no question, if he reached such levels, it means he had already such a special and holy neshama. So what's the problem? Why did he hate Talmidei Chachamim so much? He says like this to us. He says there was a problem. He says because for many years, until the age of 40, Rabbi Akiva's greatness was blocked. What's your next question? What's the next question?
What happened next?
What happened next? No, not what. Not what.
How did it get unblocked?
Oh, how did it get blocked? First, why was it blocked? First, we got to know. Then we're going to say, how did it get unblocked? The first question is why? Why was he blocked? Why was his greatness blocked? Says the Ari, there were klipot. There were shells that were covering his holy neshama. You know what a klipa is, like a shell. Imagine a walnut has a shell. Imagine a bunch of shells around the walnut. Says the Ari that Rabbi Akiva had many shells, klipot, around his neshama. Rabbi Akiva's neshama was like a brilliant and powerful light that was covered by many thick layers that blocked the light from shining and illuminating the world. So now here's the next question. That's the reason why. Now what's the next question? How did it get unblocked? When Rabbi Akiva married his wife Rachel encouraged him to go to the yeshiva and to pursue a Torah education, even though this man was 40 years old and he could not read a word in Hebrew. But that little push that his wife gave him, the Ari says, it opened up the drain that was clogged, so to speak. It opened it all up. All the blockages started to melt away. Once he began putting in the effort and that little push from his wife, the thick layers that obstructed his powerful neshama were gradually removed. And when the klipot were gone, the power of his neshama was able to burst forth, and it propelled him to such great heights that even Moshe Rabbeinu could not understand his shiurim. This is a powerful message that applies to each and every single one of us over here. You know what the message is? If Rabbi Akiva, who wanted to bite a Talmid Chacham, was endowed, was given a special neshama that had the potential for such greatness, then it's definitely possible for each of us to reach great places in Torah and Ruchaniyut. You might not feel naturally driven towards spiritual greatness, but the potential might very well be inside of you. Because Rabbi Akiva didn't know that he had it, but he had it. He didn't feel he had it. His natural instinct was not to run after Torah, it was to run away from it. But he had it in him. So you just need that extra push to get you moving and to propel you forward. And then, Dari says, then when you do that, the klipot will slowly fall away and you'll be able to reach your true potential. Because it would be a terrible mistake to resign yourself to mediocrity, to think, I'm just a regular lady, and assume that you are not destined to achieve any kind of greatness when you are. Because you never know what your ultimate goal is until you actually try. You'll never know how great you are until you actually try. And that's what the Torah is doing for you. It's giving you the opportunity to discover who you really are and how much greatness lies inside of you. That's what the Torah did for Rabbi Akiva, and that's what the Torah does for us. Every time you come to these shiurim, every time you log on to TorahAnytime.com, anytime you log on to ohelsara.com, hello everybody, please don't forget to log on www.ohelsara.com. Okay, each time you encourage someone else to be a part of the world of Torah, you're giving yourself and that person the extra push to try and to invest a little bit more effort in your ruchaniyut. And when you do that, you'll find yourself able to achieve a lot more than you ever dreamed possible for yourself. Now, of course, that means that you have to be devoted to Torah. You have to be devoted to the learning of Torah, to the halachot, to the mitzvot. That's important. And that's something that Yitro realized. After he heard about all the miracles that Hashem did for the Jewish people, after he realized that Hashem is the one true God, he understood that if he wants to live as a believing Jew, he has to leave his homeland. He has to leave all the avodah zarah, all his pagan surroundings, and he has to live near Moshe Rabbeinu and the holy nation of Am Yisrael. In other words, hearing about the miracles and reading about what Hashem did, that wasn't enough for Yitro. Let me read about it in the paper. Yofi, wow, God saved the Jewish people. Yofi, next page. Oh, look what's on sale now tomorrow at the drugstore. That was not enough for Yitro, to hear about it or to read about it. For him, without personal contact with all those inspiring people that he heard about, like Moshe Rabbeinu, Aharon Cohen, without direct exposure to all these role models of devotion and spiritual greatness, without being next to them, he says the inspiration is going to eventually fade away. So, of course it's important to read books. Of course it's important to listen to shiurei Torah online or on the phone. But you also have to have first-hand contact with inspiring role models and mentors. You have to have that personal connection. You have to try to live in an environment that's productive for your spiritual and religious growth. You should try to be around people who are encouraging you to live a meaningful and spiritual life. You should have the kind of friends who help to elevate your neshama and that they discourage you from bad decisions. A good friend is somebody who could help wake you up when you're in a dead sleep and you're about to miss the boat. Don't miss the boat. And guess what? When your friends or family, they're not the ones pushing you forward. When they're not the ones pushing you up to Hashem, pushing you, elevating you up to the Shamayim, Hashem has to do it for you in other ways. What happens? Sometimes there's this life-shaking event that's meant to wake a person up and bring him to his senses. Hashem says, come on. He's like, Hashem's trying to, so to speak, knock the sense into you. Bemet, there's a knocking sense into you. That's where it comes from. Because think about it. When Hashem made the great miracle of the splitting of the sea, when Hashem led the Jewish people through the sea and straight to their freedom, that was an event that shook the entire world. Everybody knew about it. Everyone clearly saw the power of Hashem and they realized that Hashem was personally guiding the Jews to their special destiny. And Yitro was especially touched and moved by this world-shaking event. Even though Yitro himself was a famous and well-respected priest who was doing a lot of avodah zarah, but he realized that only Hashem was the true God. So what did he do? He left his misguided ways behind and he joined the Jewish people. That means that Yitro used that world-shaking event that he heard about as a wake-up call to rethink all his mistaken values, and then he changed his life for the better. And the same has to be true for us. When we're confronted by life-shaking events, by a message from a Torah lesson that we just heard, like this. You know what, you ladies just came in earlier and you were telling me, did you hear about the blood moon on Tu B'Shvat? I'm like, it's the 5th blood moon already. These are signs that are coming. Did you hear that Rav Chaim Kanievsky Shalita said, that's going around, that Be'ezrat Hashem, before the elections in Israel in April, Mashiach is already going to be here? You heard about it? Of course I heard about it. Now what?
Yeah.
Somebody I spoke to today, I told them, Rav Chaim Kanievsky says, Be'ezrat Hashem, this. I told him the whole story about the guy who came in and all that, and Rav Chaim Kanievsky says Mashiach is going to probably be coming before the election. So it's all over They said, "Oi, what should I do now? I just bought a house. What should I do? I ordered furniture. The furniture is coming very soon. What should I do?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?
Bring it in Jerusalem.
You can't bring the furniture to Eretz Yisrael?" "Yeah, so what should I do with the house?"
So
That's what's bothering you, the house and the furniture? HaKadosh Baruch Hu splits the sea and he can't take your house and your furniture with you to Eretz Yisrael. And if you say, that's, maybe it's not going to happen. But we do know something that is going to happen, that Hashem is going to stretch out. People, the Chachamim that say that if you see the world map flat, not the globe, flat, if you see the world map flat, you will notice that all the continents, they can somehow, it's like puzzle pieces, and they can somehow connect, like a puzzle. Chachamim say that it's very possible that when Mashiach comes, because there's a raya that says when Mashiach will come, everything's going to change in the world. And it says that the whole of Eretz Yisrael, the entire Eretz Yisrael will be the capital. Not Yerushalayim. Right now Yerushalayim is the capital. The entire Eretz Yisrael will be like Yerushalayim. So what's the rest of Eretz Yisrael going to be? Chachamim say that Hashem is going to literally bring all the lands together. The whole world will be Eretz Yisrael, so to speak. And that portion, that small portion where it was Eretz Yisrael, meaning that little place, that little dot on the map, that's going to be the capital of the whole world, meaning Yerushalayim, so to speak. So I say, if Hashem could bring the lands together, you won't even have to take your house. You'll come by donkey. We'll give you a donkey. So one person said, yeah, Be'emet, Mashiach has to come on his donkey. When he comes on his donkey and blows the shofar, I'll know it's him. I said, listen, first of all, when they said donkey, we don't know what that means. It could mean a lot of things, because it's also told that we're going to be going to Eretz Yisrael on wings of eagles. I doubt very highly we're going to sit on some feathered bird. I think that what they saw, the Nevi'im, were probably airplanes or something. That makes more sense, right? Mm-hmm. Although it says that Shlomo HaMelech Taka did ride on a big bird when he had to go certain places. The big birds took him. But I don't know if the bird will be able to take her house and her furniture. But anyway, but the point is that
we're going to be together.
But the point is that these are life-shaking. This is life-shaking news. This is world-shaking news. When we are confronted by these life-shaking events, or by a message from a Torah lesson that we just heard, or sometimes it could be just from words that a good friend told us and it came from their heart, we should use that as a lesson, as an opportunity for personal growth. The greatest life-shaking event was Matan Torah. Think about what happened on that day, and with this I want to end. Think about what happened on that day in history. Matan Torah was an event that happened once. It was never repeated again for any other nation at any other time. It happened once. The date was the 6th of Sivan, just 50 days after Bnei Israel left Egypt. It was Shabbat morning at sunrise, and Bnei Israel were gathered around Har Sinai Shabbat morning. It says the entire world was quiet. There were no birds chirping even. The whole nature, all of nature was on hold. Why? Because Hashem was coming down. Who could move when the Ribono Shel Olam comes down to the world? Yep. Everyone was frozen, dead in their chair. Suddenly it says there was thunder. There was lightning. There was a loud blast of the shofar that shook the whole world. Everybody knew what was going on, even though they weren't there. People in Egypt, everyone in the world knew that Hashem's presence was there. The mountain was blazing with a heavenly smoke, and it was trembling like a volcano. And Am Yisrael is standing there terrified. And the Shekhinah came down to that mountain in the form of a great fire. They saw it. And everybody heard HaKadosh Baruch Hu asking Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe, it's time now to go up to the Shamayim to take the Torah. They're listening to this. The entire Am Yisrael now know without a doubt that Moshe Rabbeinu was the true Navi of Hashem. And then suddenly, Am Yisrael heard the first commandment being said, proclaimed from the voice of God Himself, saying, Anochi Hashem Elokecha Asher hotzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibet avadim. And just by hearing Hashem's voice, every man, woman, and child, they rose to such levels of nevuah. Everybody was like a navi.
Wow.
But the power of Hashem was so strong that people could not handle it. And from the intensity, the neshamot started leaving their bodies. The malachim had to come down to resurrect them. That means at Har Sinai, there was already a tchiyat ha-metim. The malachim had to come down and do a tchiyat ha-metim. Ladies, why am I describing this scene to you? Because you would think, after such a presentation, Hollywood could not create such a presentation. You would think after such a presentation on Hashem's part, thunder, lightning, volcanoes, shaking, thundering, no birds are chirping, such a miraculous event, you would think that the people would finally absorb the message and feel secure in their emunah. Surely they would hold on to Torah and mitzvot now with every fiber of their being after experiencing such a sight. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? And yet we see that even after Matan Torah, there were Jews who wanted to still go back to Egypt, and they were even willing to worship the golden calf, the Egel HaZahav. What happened to the Yirat Shamayim that a person should feel after you experience such an event? This is not a regular event. This was a world-shaking event. Just like the tsunami was a world-shaking event. Just like anything that happened in the world. Trump was also a world-shaking event. I don't mean that to be funny. There's a reason why this man is in office. I remember the night before the elections thinking, oh, he's never going to get in because of they had the bad debates and all the bad news. And I said, Ribono Shel Olam, we need this guy because he likes the Jews. And if Hillary is in, forget it, we're doomed. And I remember that night sitting and people were like sending me, now he's got these many electoral college votes and now he's got this. And I fell asleep with the phone next to my pillow because I was so scared. And I'm like, Hashem, you make this happen. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden I wake up, it was like 2:30 in the morning. And I'm looking at, and I'm thinking, I see, before 2. I see that he's missing 26 points. I'm like, Hashem, 26 is your name. Yud K Vav K, that's you. 10, 15, 21, 26. I'm like, Hashem, make it happen. You can make it happen. I fell asleep fell back asleep. I'm like, Hashem, wake me up when it's all over. Atak Hashem woke me up when it was all over. And I wake up and I see that he won. How do you think I reacted?
Excited, no?
No. I didn't jump out of bed and get excited. I started to cry like a baby.
Why?
Because I realized the hand of God. Look what he did for this man. The whole world was saying there's no way he's going to get in. It seems like he's the dunce cup. He's got a bad reputation. All the news, the debates. But the Ribono Shel Olam did not want this woman in office. The Ribono Shel Olam was taking care of Am Yisrael. The Ribono Shel Olam realized that this man, the words that came out of his mouth every other day, God, 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 thank God, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Hillary never once spoke about God. So I cried because I said, this could only be you. That's a world-shaking event. But would you see that? So that's why God, this week's parasha is called Yitro for that reason. It's named after a goy, this parasha, because he was a searcher of the truth.
And he's in Torah.
He was looking for the truth. Yitro resigned his prestigious position. He was Paro's advisor many years before, and he left because Paro wanted to kill the babies. And he says, you can't do that, you can't do that. You can't just kill Jews and kill the babies, it's an awful thing to do. But Paro didn't listen. Hashem says, this for me is a sheker. This I can't handle it, and he ran away. And then after trying every kind of avodah zarah and every kind of cult in the world, in the end, Yitro rejected every avodah zarah. And when he heard about the miracles that happened to the Jews, what did he do? He ran to join the Jewish people. He didn't walk, he ran. He took his horses, he didn't take his donkey. You know the difference between the horse and the donkey, right? Imagine, wow, I heard the Jewish people were saved by God. That's a miracle. Let me get on my donkey. Jump, right? Or, wow, I heard the Jewish people. Let me get on my horse. Right? That's the way you should react. Now, so, you know why this week's parasha is called Yitro? It's to teach us that the way to acquire Torah is to follow in the ways of Yitro. Meaning, search for the truth and be critical. Reject falsehood. And then when you discover the emet, you have to be ready to sacrifice everything for the emet. When Hashem makes an appearance in your life, which He does every day, one way or another He makes an appearance, you have to be like Yitro who came. What did he come to do? Lidrosh Elokim, to seek Hashem, to look for Hashem. People have the ability to look for Hashem and to find Him in everything from the smallest aspect of life to a life-altering event. The question is, can you accept the truth of what you just experienced? Are you a seeker of truth, or are you going to deny the truth? Searching for Hashem and recognizing the truth, that facilitates a connection and a bond between you and the Creator. So ladies, remember the lessons of Parashat Yitro and take them into your heart and into your life. May we recognize, first of all, Hashem in our daily life. May we be zeicha to hear His messages and to instill in our hearts the Yirat Shamayim that's needed to proceed with our Torah learning. And Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, when the time comes and Hashem reveals Himself in the time of the Mashiach, which is now, may we be worthy to see the truth. Amen. And respond to that truth accordingly, so that we could benefit from all the good that's going to come to us. Be'ezrat Hashem. Amen. Ken. Yiratzon.
Amen.